The next area we have is actually where we define what the machine is. And you'll see that mine's called machine, and right now it has one called milling inch. If you had 10 different machines in your shop, like an Akuma or a Mazak or a Haas or a Fadal, you could have different machines spelled out to do different things. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to dive into this a little bit here. So inside of CamWorks, there's two ways to activate any type of command. The first one is what everyone is used to. You can right click on the item, and then there will be an option for edit definition, and that will open up a window. Or my favorite is you can just double click on the item and it will open up the window the same way. I find that the double clicking makes it really fast, a couple less clicks than what we would normally see. So from here, you'll see that the first tab we have is the machine, where we can define what type of machine it is. For example, mine is set up with milling inch. This could say Haas, it could say Trump if we're doing a laser, it could say Akuma, whatever your machines are set up. And in further lessons, we'll get into that, and we will actually go and look at how you would change that stuff in the tech database. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to milling inch, and we're just going to hit select. On yours, it may say mill IN. If you have a custom setup already, it'll be your just standard 2 or 3 axis machine. So once this is selected, you'll see that there's some options down here. If you're running simulation, which we can talk about a little bit later, you can pick which type of simulation machine you have. You can also pick the controller, whether it's a Fanuc or a Siemens. And then the type of duty of machine, which we'll talk about a little bit later too, that determines the depth of cut and the horsepower and how big of a cut you're going to take on a machine. For now, we'll just leave this at light duty, and we'll have our machine selected. It shows over here on the right that it is the selected machine, and then we'll go ahead and click the Tool Crib tab. The Tool Crib tab is actually a list of predefined tools that work in conjunction with what's available versus what we have in the tech database. And we have a lesson coming up where we'll talk specifically about the technology database. The tool cribs can be customized. You'll see that we have one here at the bottom for our shop called LaserCat that pulls up tools to make the laser work correctly. Out of the box, you'll have one called Crib 1, Crib 2, which is a Fadal 4020, and then a Crib 3 that's Haas. And if you highlight these and hit select, you'll notice that the tool changes as well as the numbers that go with it. So depending upon the amount of tool holders you have and things of that nature, you can actually set these up to have standard tools. To add and remove tools, it's as simple as clicking Add Tool, clicking Edit Tool, clicking Remove Tool, and then you can save the tool crib at any time. You can also tell it that tool crib has substations for if you're a really advanced operation and you want to run substations. The other option you have is the ability to do tool crib priority. And what that will do is that will tell CamWorks that, hey, if I find a 5/16 end mill in here, I'm going to try to use it over pulling one from the technology database. This makes it a little bit easier if you have all these stations already loaded in your machine, or you use a constant rotation of tools where the station number 4 is always an 1/8 inch end mill. It makes it really nice to select that kind of stuff right here and just being able to say tool crib priority. For ours, we'll just go ahead and leave it at crib 1, and if you hit select here, it'll make sure that crib 1 is loaded. And we'll check tool crib priority. That way it'll try to pull what we have from here to begin with versus grabbing other tools that may or may not apply to our scenario today. The next tab that we'll look at is the post processor. Now, depending upon the number of machines you have, you may have a great big long list in here that shows all the different types of machines in the shop. And one of the things that's beautiful about this is if we had, for example, we have a LaserCat here for Trump for doing laser cutting. If we go ahead and add a Haas mill, I can have one in here for a Haas mill. And basically to change from going from machine A to machine B, all I really have to do is just click on the post processor, select it, and then post out my file again, and all of the G code will be correct for that machine. It makes it really easy to change when you have, different machines with different demand throughout. For our example today, we're going to go ahead and do M3 axis tutorial. So we'll just click that, hit select, and you'll notice that on here it shows a little bit of information about what it is and how it works. Once we have this machine selected, we're going to go ahead and hit posting, And depending upon what you have for post-processor, these things can be added as customizable lists. Now, if you're very in-depth on creating setup sheets and reporting tools, you may have had your post-processor created in such a way where you have a big list of information you can fill out. And what's cool about this is the information that gets filled out here will show up directly in the post-processor or in the G-code that goes to the machine. So for example, if I go change my post-processor to the LaserCat, and I come back here, you can see that I have drop-down lists for type of gas it's going to be used, the type of material thickness I'm going to use, what type of material it is, and that tells the laser to do specific things depending upon what is selected. I also have the ability to put in a program name so it can make sense to the laser operator. And as I type all this information in, when I post it out, that will all show up in the G-code itself. For today, we're going to go ahead and we'll just keep it at M3 axis. I'll select that back, and then we'll just leave this information the way it is. Now, you'll notice on this sheet there's actually 3 more tabs: Setup, Rotary Axis, and Tilt Axis. We're not going to worry about those in this lesson because that generally runs into 4 and 5 axis machining. So for today, we'll just go ahead and hit OK. And you'll notice that it now says milling inch on our machine, or mill IN, depending upon which setup you have. And then from there, we're ready to tackle the stock.